WFM 91.7.
It's WFM 91.7 and it's exactly 11:30 and you're listening to Her Voice. And today is the 19th day of January 2021 and I am Bukola Balogun. And this morning, we're going to be discussing on the roadmap to 2023. Where are the women? And I think this is a valid question that needs to be asked because women are also a part of the society where we are. Women are a part of Nigeria and should not be marginalized. Her Voice is a deliberate program that condemns all forms of violence and discrimination against women and girls. And it's an initiative of Women Radio 91.7 in partnership with Action Aid Nigeria, supported by Global Affairs Canada. And this morning, I'm going to be having two guests with me. I am going to be speaking with two persons, and I'm going to be starting off with Chika Kumli. She is a politician and social justice advocate. Good morning, Chika.
Good morning, Bukola.
How you doing?
I'm very fine, and thanks for having me.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you, and welcome to Her Voice. And on Her Voice this morning, as 2023 elections is approaching, it's about 2 years and 2 months away. And some politicians have begun discreet campaigns to succeed, different persons in positions of authority, including our own President Muhammadu Buhari. While a few of them, like Senator Ahmed Yarima, has openly declared his presidential ambition, and others have been using allies to test the waters. But as we go into 2021, it is expected that the agitation for the presidential ticket, especially among the two major political parties, would set off a chain of events expected to culminate in who becomes the president in 2023. Now, I want us to note that the participation of women in politics in Nigeria is about 6.7%, an estimate below the global average of 22.5% of political participation of women in politics. But yes, if you want to be a part of Her Voice this morning, the phone lines will be open shortly. But you can join us on Twitter at WFM917, and on all of our social media platforms, definitely would get to take your messages. The phone lines will be open shortly, but just continue with us on the conversation. Now I'm coming to you, Chika. It's very important. I think there has been the clamor even before 2021, since 2020, that if we are looking to 2023, preparations need to be made to ensure that women are put in places of authority. Women need to understand that preparation has to start from now. The election is just about 2 years, away. But then before you know it, 2023 is here. What I would just like to know, what does it seem, or what is it like that women are silent? Why is it that women are silent with regards to elections, considering that we have the men already, showing themselves, to the people already getting familiar with them, but we haven't seen any woman yet.
Well, thank you so much once again for having me to share my thoughts on this very beautiful conversation, build up for 2023. I must appreciate that we are having this conversation now because it's also part of the build up, having women to air their opinions, to speak on how and why Nigerians should support women in politics and in governance. Yes, from your opening statement, you've given examples of people that have shown interest and have openly declared their intentions to run, which is mostly for the presidency. So to answer your question directly, we have women that have openly declared to run for different public offices, although we have not had anyone for the presidency at the moment.
Okay.
But for governorship, senatorial, state houses of assembly, from different states, I can confidently tell you that we have women that are taking the steps and are already running campaigns on the ground to soften the ground ahead of 2023. And this is politics. You have to plan. You have to have a very detailed plan of what you need to do and how you need to achieve them. Being on the field, having run through the primaries and run through the general elections, I must tell you, politics intense and it requires a lot of planning. And so 2 years to the election, it is an appropriate time for women to really get in the field and openly declare, because this politics as it is in Nigeria happens to be like it's a boys' club.
Okay.
And so the women should take a cue from what the men are doing. If they are openly declaring, if they are openly making statements, then we should do the same. And I can boldly say again that there are women that have openly done that.
Okay.
So it is a good one. And part of the conversation we're having is also a build-up to that. So thank you.
Okay. I'm very happy you mentioned that. Thank you very much for that. You made mention of the fact that, politics, and especially looking at it, it's more like a men's club. And when you look at the trend of things when it comes to politics in Nigeria, when you have, particularly the men in position of authority, they always have someone who is like the right-hand person or someone who is just by the side that they're technically mentoring in case, they don't come back to that position. They can actually push for the other person. Looking at the situation of things with politics in Nigeria, do we actually see women doing this? Because apparently we have women who have either contested or women who have been in positions of authority but are no longer in politics, or let me say are no longer in active positions in politics, that can as well mentor young, women into politics. Do we really have anything like that in Nigeria?
Well, to answer that, we must first of all admit that we do not have, we've not had a good number of women in high places, like women who have held top positions in this country. But the very few that we had, it is now a call to the women to see mentorship as a critical area in which we need to raise successors, because that is where the men are ahead of us. They mentor their younger ones, and they, in essence, dictate what will get to happen in the next election and the forthcoming elections, because they've already put in and trained people to be competent enough to fit into that space. So it's really sad that we don't have enough of the mentorship, especially for young women. But it is equally serving as an opportunity for women to see where they can close in this gap. Mentorship is very important, because for anybody to serve, he must be given the opportunity to serve another person. And in the course of service, these young men have to expand their knowledge, their scope about politics, and also expand their own network. So yes, we want women to take up the stage, but it's also important to mentor young people. I can tell you that for people like me who have run in the 2019 election and we were not lucky to win, we've seen the loopholes, we've seen the lapses, we've seen areas where there needs to be a covering. And so now we're running organizations to advocate, support, and also encourage young women to take up leadership roles, because that's where the men are ahead of us, right from secondary school, tertiary institutions. They are open to these spaces. And so it has built their confidence over time to believe that they have a space in leadership. And so women must be deliberate about it. Having had the experience, you should make the ground easy for those coming behind you, so that in the long run, it might not be an immediate result, but in the long run, we'll have more young women having the confidence and the knowledge about service, about public service, about politics. And so, yes, we want to talk about having more women in politics, but it is the issue rests on our table. We are the ones to make these things work.
Thank you very much.
It is very important.
Thank you so much. Now, before I call it a wrap with you, Chika, this morning, I would like to know, that was before the 2019 election. The NWTF, that's the Nigerian Women Trust Fund, had a conference where, candidates for different positions, political positions, and aspirants were brought together. Women in particular were brought together, where there was deliberation, there was, a brush up on what they need to know, how to go about things, and also with regards to how they can, be able to get the people to their own side, on campaigns and all of that. Women Radio, in collaboration with some organizations, did something like that as well. But then I'm just curious. I'm sure you were there in Abuja then. Do you agree that helped to a great extent, and if that would be needed before the 2023 election?
Yes, I was privileged to be part of both conferences you mentioned. I found the lessons from those conferences very helpful.
Okay.
It exposes us to learn from women that have been ahead of us and who have been on the field. So coming also to have had the experience of running and having these organizations making deliberate steps to build the capacity of women to fill in those gaps. I must say that it is time for us now to appeal to other organizations and funders to see how they are going to fund more organizations so as to reach out to more women. Because if we have just 1 or 2, 3 organizations doing this, coming up with the population of women in this country, it won't be sufficient enough. So we need funders to fund organizations working around gender equality and improving the participation of women in politics, so that we'll have all those training and conferences held right ahead of time before the 2023 elections, because these programs are very helpful. Being a beneficiary myself, I can tell you that we need more of such, and I really commend the Women Radio, the Nigeria Women Trust Fund, Women in Politics Forum, a number of organizations that have taken this step to see that women understand the power game. And that is because we, first of all, as women, need to understand why we need to be in those positions in the first place. It would be that we're just struggling for power, but what do we need the power for? So we need more of such conferences, we need more of such summits where these issues affecting women's participation are critically dissected. And then, most importantly, we need funders. Politics is notoriously expensive, and without funds, I can tell you, half of the work will not be done. This funding that women need is not to buy votes, because we're totally against it.
Thank you.
Need resources to mobilize for logistics, for their campaigns, for their print media, for traditional media presence, and all of that. So while we're appealing to have funders, to fund organizations to build the capacity of women, we're also calling on people, public-spirited individuals, to support and fund women that are competent to hold public offices.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Chika. Yes, before I let you go, because I have to let you go now, would you be running for the 2023 election?
By the grace of God, I'll absolutely be running for the House of Representatives in 2023.
Okay, that is a very good one, and yes, and we look forward to having you in the House, and yes, I'm sure all the plans are actually being put in place for you to see, for us to see a reality of that. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Chika.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, do enjoy the rest of your day. You're still listening to Her Voice on Women Radio 91.7, and we're going to be joined by our second guest, Risola Abiola. She's a politician and advocate for gender equality and youth inclusion in governance. It is exactly a quarter to 12 on Women Radio. But then we have been looking at, the possibility of having more women in position of authority. Now, this is not even a possibility. This is supposed to be what the society is. This is supposed to be our reality. There is the 35% affirmative action that we have been clamoring for, but then we are yet to see this, to its full in political positions. We have some states like Kwara State who have done well. The Kwara State governor has actually done well in ensuring that he has about 56% of women in his cabinet, which is a very laudable one. But then we want to see more of this in states and at the federal and at the state level, even local government level. There's really nothing wrong in having that. Good afternoon, Risola. Thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. How's your day been, and how is the COVID-19 protocol measures going?
Well, my day has been pretty okay. With COVID, there's been a rather sharp increase in the number of cases, and I'm really hoping that everybody takes precautions.
All right, thank you very much. But then I would like to get to know from you, looking at the 2023 election just around the corner, it's 2 years away. How would you say women have fared looking at the situation of politics, and do you see more women coming into political positions come 2023?
Well, since the 2019 elections, we've made a measure of progress in securing inclusion for women. I think in the recently held local government elections in Kogi, for example, women emerged as the vice chairman in all of the local governments there. And I'm aware that efforts are being made to replicate this in other states as well. And then I think when I came on, you were talking about Kwara. Kwara has done really well with the appointment of women. Kaduna also has done quite well. So we've been able to make some progress in some states, but not everywhere else. Now, on 2023 itself, a lot of advocacy still is, and I think for women to be better represented in elective office specifically now, we need to, start as soon as possible. If you're going to run in 2023, by now you should already have your plan, you should already have started working, you should already have started the stakeholder mapping, you should already know what it is that you will require. It takes a lot of planning, you need a lot of strategy, you need to be on ground, you need to know what's going on, you need to try and be as visible as you possibly can within the power structures, particularly where you're from.
All right. Thank you very much for that. And I'm happy you mentioned the fact that there is a need for a lot of planning, there is a need for a lot of strategic thinking, advocacies, and all of that. But then looking at all of the advocacies that have gone ahead, do you think that the political construct in Nigeria and political structures in Nigeria are friendly enough for women to be able to thrive?
There are a number of structural changes that we need. I happen to be an advocate for affirmative action. I believe, for instance, a number of tickets should be reserved for women in political parties. But this is an idea that is going to need, as I said earlier, a lot of advocacy. And then I'm also aware that there are political parties working on a new constitution, and the women within those parties have been engaging. I know of the governing party presently, and they've been engaging a lot. So we're hopeful that eventually women will get a more deal in the new constitution of the party. And I'm really hopeful that women in other parties can also engage the power structures and secure a better deal for themselves. But in any event, I think as Nigerians, we also need to be a lot more supportive of our women because, look, even if parties decide that they're reserving a certain number of tickets, for as long as we have an electorate in part of the country that will not vote for a woman, no matter how qualified she is, it's going to be a problem. And all these societal factors are, a very key part of why women's representation, especially in elective office, has been so difficult to improve on. And that's why you'll find that there's also a lot of advocacy for increased representation of women in appointed positions. So, yeah, exactly. So, I just believe there's a lot of work that needs to be done, structural adjustments that need to be made. And Nigerians also have a role to play. If we vote in larger numbers, for instance, it might be a bit easier for women or other fringe candidates to secure the number of votes needed to actually win their elections. And we also need to learn to support good candidates wherever they may be. Campaign is extremely expensive. Politics is one of the most capital-intensive things anybody could ever get involved in. So we also need to learn to rally around our women. Women are at an economic disadvantage. This also reflects in the poor representation in elective office, especially because it's very expensive. Not everybody can afford it. So we also need to learn, when we identify good candidates, we need to put our money where our mouth is by supporting their campaign, and then beyond that, we also need to come out in large numbers to vote.
Okay, thank you very much. And it's still her voice on Women Radio 91.7. I would like to get your contribution. 07000 917 917 is a studio line to call. You can send in a WhatsApp or a text message to 070 317 56537. And I still have with me this morning Risola Abiola. She is a politician, and and advocates for gender equity and the youth inclusion in governance. Now, in wrapping up, do you think that quota system is actually going to work and help for women inclusion in politics in Nigeria?
We talk about countries like Rwanda, where women are very well represented in parliament. They didn't get there by mistake. They were very deliberate about designing policies that would see to the emergence of more women in positions of authority. So it's not enough to simply make reference to those kinds of countries without being willing to actually do what they did to ensure that women were better represented in government. So yes, affirmative action remains, I think, the quickest way to correct underrepresentation. And then as we go ahead, when we correct it first, then from that point on, when everybody's on an even ground, we may not really need to rely on all of that anymore, but we need to close that gap. And I think that's about the most effective way to do it.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for joining us. But before I let you go, would you be contesting come 2023?
I think it's a little too early to tell.
Okay.
Yes, a number of factors that would determine whether it's a good time to do so or not. I'm more interested at the moment in just contributing what I can to my party, where I'm from, and to women's inclusion generally, especially as it pertains to young women's participation in politics. So for now, I'm not thinking about running in 2023. I'm just thinking about being an active member of my party and actively helping more young women get involved. So as we draw closer to 2023, if it seems like the factors are aligning in my favor, I might give it a go. If it doesn't, well, we would have to see.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Marisola, for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And yes, that was Marisola, and she was able to, explain something to us, which is very important in getting more women in political positions, and as well as we see the 2023 election just draw near to us. Thank you very much, Marisola Abiola. Thank you for your contribution. And in conclusion, as we prepare for the 2023 election, we're clamoring for more female participation. We want to see more women in action. We want to see our women taking key positions in governance for a better Nigeria. Thank you so much for your contribution this morning, and thank you to the production team, Victoria Uwaifo, Sarah Iniwe, and Adebanke Sanusi, Sheyi Peters, and Shegun Adebayo. Thank you so much for your contribution. Her Voice is an initiative of Women Radio 91.7 in partnership with Action Aid Nigeria and supported by Global Affairs Canada. I am Bukola Balogun. To have a lovely morning.
WFM 91.7.